So today we are going to continue on our study of lesson 132. I lose the world from all I thought it was. It is crucial, it is imperative that we all fully understand the importance of letting go of attachments to this reality that we have become so accustomed um, and think this is it, this is life, this is all there is. So being able to take the lessons of A Course in Miracles and apply them into our lives is so necessary. But I want to warn you, it takes time. We're using time to undo what got built over time. And also, it's what cultivates patience and gentleness. As we practice the lessons over and over again, as we 5 years later discover, oh, I never saw that in that lesson. I missed that point. 20 years later, wow, I had no idea that this thing went so deep. It is all preparing us step by step by step to move on a path of cultivating trust in God, because we're shifting out of ego thinking into knowing with God, knowing what God knows. As a matter of fact, in the Awareness Academy last night, we were looking at the importance of accepting um, what God knows, and to think with God, to know with God is so crucial that we make that. If you're going to have a goal, and I know in the beginning, I know it for me because I've known it for others. The goal was, oh, I want to be enlightened. I didn't know what that meant. Other than maybe I'll have a halo, maybe I'll grow wings, maybe I'll just levitate and leave this world. And so in my very immature mind, I had a misconception of what this journey was going to lead me to. And of course, there were lots of gurus, lots of teachers, and I looked up to them and, oh, I want to be like this one. Oh, I want to be like that one. But I'll tell you, my experience has been quite quite the opposite of what I was expecting. It has been a journey into becoming the most ordinary person that I've ever known. Because as we drop the ideas, the concepts, the preconceived notions, as we drop the the glitter and the glamour of what enlightenment might be all about, what is left is exactly what is shown to us in the Course in Miracles, in the Manual for Teachers, which are the characteristics of a teacher of God: the gentleness, the joy, the patience, the open-mindedness. You you become like Jesus. Jesus was a very ordinary person. Did he have supernatural abilities? Yes, but he was only showing us that he had tapped in to being like God. He accepted that he is as God created him and allowed himself to access that knowing and put it into practice inside of a very ordinary container. Jesus was an ordinary man. As a matter of fact, in A Course in Miracles, he tells us on a regular basis that we are no different than him except for one thing. He knows who he is as God created him, and that's it. He knows it and he lives it, and that is it. We are learning to understand who we are as God created us. Most of us, I would say, that study the Course and go into deep experiences, trusting it and feeling like, yes, this is it, and you're becoming a nicer person, gentler, kinder, more compassionate, more honest. You still, most likely, I'm not going to speak obviously for everybody, but I can tell you most people, myself included, still believe that who we are is this human being. While we are thinking that we're the human being, while we're still identified with our status, our position, our finances, our career, our family connections. I'm the mother, I'm the sister, I'm the brother, I'm the father, I'm the son. This is my job, this is what I have. While we're still in this is my house, this is my stuff, if that is still primary, and it's going to be for most people, it's very, very uh, difficult to wipe away your human identity. However, it is letting go of that, loosening ourselves from that identity that the journey is all about. It becomes a yes and. Yes, I have a human body and I am a non-physical being. Yes, I have identities as a mother, a child, a sibling, and what I am is one with all that is, where there is no relationship, if you will. There's not siblings, there's not parents, there's not grandparents. It's all one. So wrapping our mind around the idea that we are, yes, a human and not human, not physical, being able to take those two and merge them together, to me, I think is the most advanced part of this work. It's the journey is we're climbing up to go to the top of the mountain so that we can discover the truth of who we are. We move to those states where we are operating inside of the knowing that we're divine and we're coming to know our relationship with God. We're coming to know God. We're having transcendental experiences. We're having so many things that we're learning and discovering, and it's like we're going up the mountain. I was just listening to a video, a YouTube video, just right before I got on here. Somebody that I respect in the spiritual community, he has done some teachings with A Course in Miracles. He is better known for teachings with the Law of One, which I think are phenomenal teachings, very much in alignment actually with the Law of One. And he was being interviewed by this gentleman who apparently has a career. I don't know the guy who was interviewing him, but the main part of the interview is that there are people who become teachers, who become spiritual leaders, who go to the top of the mountain, have those experiences, and are teaching from the top of the mountain and create cults. Basically, become well known, very, what do you call that? They just have great personalities and they attract a big following. And from that following, they begin to feed their narcissistic tendencies. This is what I often refer to as the spiritualized ego, where you have these experiences, you know some truth, but you don't come down from the mountain. We stay at the top of the mountain. We want everybody to come up to the mountain and listen to what we have to say. And I'm so advanced and so enlightened because I got up here. Some people go to the extremes to become teachers of that, even known as gurus. But some of us don't have to become a guru. We can be in our own house and still have a I know better than you attitude with our spouse, with our sibling, with our child. I know I experienced that. That was one of the main gifts that I got from my marriage to Ken is it helped me see that spiritualized ego who was believing that I was better than he was because the way that we met is he came to one of my classes. And after he came to one of my classes, he came to my workshops. And for several years, he was a constant presence as an assistant in my workshops. So my ego, my spiritualized ego, had established me as a teacher and he's the student. And we do it with our family. We do it at the Thanksgiving table. You know, I know something that you don't know, and oh, you know, the judgments, we may not say it, but we're thinking it. This lesson, lesson 132, I lose the world from all I thought it was, is an absolute, complete, total purge of everything that I thought it was. It says it very clearly right there in the title. All, the word all is there, no exceptions. So it is a constant journey to look at what it is that we're believing. As it says in the very first sentence in the very first paragraphs, what keeps the world in chains but your beliefs. Very simple, very clear. It's not ambiguous there. And second sentence number 2, and what can save the world except yourself? Capital S self. Going up to the top of the mountain is discovering ourself. Our capital S self. We begin to discover that there's something divine, something dare I say the word special, the Course wants us to not have special relationships, but in the beginning of the journey, we feel special because we're having insights, we're understanding texts, we're reading sacred things, and we know what it means. We have like aha moments, and those are all beautiful experiences. So we're getting to know ourself, capital S self, while at the same time we're taking an inventory of our beliefs. We're learning what we have been conditioned to think is true. We're taking an inventory of our traumas, our uncomfortable experiences. We're realizing, okay, as a human, I have had all of these things happen to me, but as a capital S self, I have never been touched. I am still as God created me. Going to the top of the mountain is understanding these two things. Coming down from the top of the mountain is a whole different story. Coming down from the top of the mountain is integrating these two things, meaning your capital S self, who you are as God created you, leads the way. Your human self then is in service to you. The fact that you are in relationships, a husband, a wife, a child, a mother, a sibling, you use that to extend your capital S self. You use that to express, again, as the Course tells us in the characteristics of a teacher of God, gentleness, extend tolerance and patience and generosity and trust and faithfulness and defenselessness. All of those characteristics begin to be extended through your human self, because who you are as God created you doesn't need any of those characteristics. It exists in a state of pure love. It doesn't need to be gentle because it couldn't be anything other than loving. It doesn't need to be um, defenseless, and because what would it defend against? So we have an aspect of ourselves that has always been, will always be eternally innocent, meaning it doesn't know any of the stuff that we have done or experienced or anybody has done to us or anybody has done to somebody else. It doesn't know that. And the reason it does not know that, doesn't know of that, is because in a state of pure unconditional love, it cannot fathom hurting or lying or cheating. It's just not part of it. So, discovering that aspect of who we are as God created us, that self that is completely innocent, again, because it could not do anything other than love, and it is eternal. It's not focused on the what can I get, because it lives eternally. It's not trying to accomplish all the good stuff in this lifetime. It's not trying to become all that the best that it can be, because it doesn't operate in limitation. It is infinite, it is eternal. Going to the top of the mountain allows us to have some of those experiences, especially if your journey includes A Course in Miracles. So much of it is to really get to know that divine aspect of who we are. But as I was listening in this interview, lots of people go up to the top of the mountain, learn all these wonderful things, can recite all of these wonderful things. You don't really need to even get to the top of the mountain to recite, or at the very least, quote a lot of teaching, spiritual teachings. But if you don't come off of the mountain, if you don't begin the journey of becoming humble, becoming ordinary, realizing that you're not any different than anybody else, which is why in the Awareness Academy, I say it all the time, over and over and over again. Who you are is holy, is perfect, is magnificent, is complete, and so is everybody else. That is what really gets us in a place of practicing that humbleness so much more consciously and deliberately, which is what helps us come off the mountain. Because we're not here, especially at this time of the Great Awakening, we're not here to go off into an ashram, to go off into a cave somewhere in the Himalayas, to learn all these beautiful things and then hole yourself up somewhere in a cave by yourself. That's not what we need right now. What we need right now, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, if somebody feels that calling to totally disconnect from society and just go somewhere and stay in that state of bliss, in that state of joy and peace for however long you need to, more power to you. But the majority of people, what we are here to do is to go to the top of the mountain, to have those experiences that we are absolutely clear there is a higher aspect to ourselves. We feel it, we know it, we sense it. Then we come down from the top of the mountain and we live our ordinary lives. You go to work. If you are a talented attorney, you take that divine self and you bring what our true self brings then to your ordinary job. Can you imagine a world that isn't that people who have had an experience and come to know their Christ itself, if they begin to show up in the law firms, in the judicial system, if they are a judge, if they are a police person, if they happen to be maybe in politics and they're the city council person, they're the congressman for your community, and they begin to operate from those characteristics of a teacher of God. They're honest. They acknowledge that whatever it is that they're doing it for the greater good of all, which is a hallmark of honesty. Those who are honest speak, think, and do everything in alignment, meaning they're consistent with showing up as one who recognizes that their thoughts create their reality. Why? Because what keeps the world in chains but our beliefs. When you realize that our beliefs are what bind us, it is our beliefs that free us. So when you understand that your thoughts create your reality and you're utilizing your thoughts in service to your higher self, to being that Christed being that you discover is your natural state of being anyways, and now you're in ordinary careers, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom. Can you imagine raising your little ones with an understanding of the truth of who we are so that the indoctrination process is severely limited, maybe not even there, that you teach them that who they are is holy and perfect and magnificent, that at a very young age they learn to recognize that nobody has power over how they feel. I was sharing this last night in one of our classes, a conversation that I had with my 5-year-old and his little 5-year-old friends. And one of them says, you hurt my feelings. And I'm like, nobody can hurt your feelings, sweetie. You're in control of your feelings. Your feelings come from what you're thinking. What were you thinking that makes you feel bad? And you begin to look at that and you begin to break that down. That is why it is absolutely necessary in the Course in Miracles. Nowhere in the Course does it tell us that when we become a teacher of God, that we like disappear off into being an enlightened guru and in the mountaintop somewhere. It is all about being in the world, but not of it. Being in the world means that we need all hands on deck. We need as many people in this world operating as a teacher of God, bringing transparency and honesty and bringing tolerance. The Course is very clear about what tolerance is. Tolerance is, and it goes with honesty. You have to recognize that you don't know everything. Very humbling. That was one of my tough lessons, was humbling myself. Not an easy thing to do because the ego gets righteous, and if I had to admit that maybe I wasn't right, it would just send me into this state of confusion and nervousness and worry and fear and oh my gosh, I thought I was going to die if I had to admit I was wrong. But it's part of the process, and how liberating it is when you don't have to be right about everything is so liberating. I mean, you're like, okay, it takes a lot of responsibility off of your egoic self, but it allows you to become more humble and to say, no, I don't know everything. And if you have been practicing these teachings so that you really are living them, when you recognize that you may not know the answer, you can honestly say, but I know the one who has all the answers. And when you're humble enough to say, my personality, Lina, this concept that I have, this identity, this programming doesn't have all the answers in it. So let me move what I do know aside and let me connect with the one who does know everything. That Course in Miracles calls it the Holy Spirit, the voice for God that I get to go to in my humble state and say, what would you have me say? What would you have me do? Because I do not know what everything is for. And from that place, you open up to begin to receive guidance. You get ideas. You stretch your awareness, and you begin to recognize that there's no way any one person can know everything for everybody. The ego doesn't like that one bit. The ego wants to know everything. But again, as it says in this particular lesson, the what keeps the world in chains but your beliefs, all of the work of this journey, this spiritual journey, the journey to awakening, is about looking at your beliefs. For a while, yes, you have to look at your beliefs and the trauma that is held within the body, the emotions, the pockets of emotions that have not been released. Because every single time that we have an irritation, and it's a recurring irritation for the same thing, it's because energetically we're still holding some of that the memory, the trauma is still alive in us, which is why it causes the irritation. So for a while, we will do the beliefs, we will work with our beliefs, and we will work with the energy that is still stored within the body. Then pretty much when you've released all of that energy, and at some point you pretty much release most of it because you won't be reactive. This is when you can begin to respond to what's happening and you don't get offended and you don't take it personally. You pretty much have released a lot of that trauma. If you have studied or read the book The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, well, that's a lot of what he focuses on in that book, is that we have these samskaras, which are pockets of unresolved old emotional energy. And the reason they're old and they're unresolved is because we begin to hold that energy when we are children because we don't know how to deal with what's happening. So these 5-year-olds that I'm saying to them, they can't make you feel anything. You feel what you want to feel based on what you're believing. At a very young age, they're learning, oh, so I don't have to feel bad. I don't have to hold on to feeling bad and then utilize the you hurt my feelings over and over and over again over years and decades to the point that you're 60 years old, still wondering about in family events or social events. So and so, insulted me. So and so made me feel bad. Well, if you learn to process that when you're young, you don't hold on to that energy. You don't create those samskaras. But most of us, especially those of us who today, and we are in May 2025. No, is it 25 or 26? I can't even remember now. I think it's 26. Is it? Yeah, give me a nod. Yes. Is it 26? Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. You start moving into timelessness and like dates and numbers really don't mean a whole lot of anything. But most of us who are in the ages, 40s, 50s, 60s, we have grown up thinking that others uh, make us feel certain things. So we have very old energy stored in our body that has to be released. And again, those irritations become the invitations. If you don't accept the invitation, you just keep recreating them. It's just the way it works. I mean, it's the science of it. The Course wants us to understand that all of it starts with a belief. It's a thought that you have. Whether you're a child and something happens to you and you go, this is not okay, but you don't know how to process it, you store those feelings, you store those emotions. And at some point, you're going to have to release them. You got to pop those pockets of energy. You got to release them and let them come out because it's like that Dr. Seuss book that the story, you got rockets in your pockets. It's like heavy, dense. I tell my kids, Ryder will go out and pick up rocks and puts them in his pockets. And Ellie, she's starting to do that. I say, oh, you got uh, the rockets in your pockets are the rocks in their pockets. it weighs them down. And I know it weighs them down because oftentimes they'll say, ah, boy, will you hold these for me now? I'm hiking with a bunch of rocks in my pockets. That's what those old energies do. They weigh us down. They densify us. They make us feel like, oh my God, being a human is so hard. I got all this pain and all this anger and all this sensitivities that I've got to, carry with me. You don't have to carry it once you go on a journey and you begin to loosen the world from all you thought it was. The Course in Miracles is a course in training your mind to look at your beliefs, to see what your beliefs have helped you construct as your reality. And then, and this is so much about the journey going up the mountain, to come off the mountain is to let go of that reality and begin to create a new one. It doesn't mean you're going to have to get divorced. It doesn't mean, you're going to get rid of your children or siblings or people, that you don't like. Some changes may happen, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your outside life is going to change a whole lot, but your attachments to them must be recognized. Anything that you feel you cannot live without, whether it's stuff or whether it is people liking you or a job or something, anything you believe that you cannot live without, that is something that is binding you to the old world. If you're bound to the old world, you cannot be one of the ones that is a teacher of God that is bringing in the new world. The new world is a world that is truly what Jesus describes as the second coming, meaning all of us become participants in the co-creation of a new earth. All of us allow the Christ, the higher self, to flow through us to, in essence, take over. So our personalities don't disappear, but they become infused with the frequency of the Christed consciousness, the gentleness, the joy, the honesty, the tolerance, the defenselessness. All of those things are infused in how you live your life. So in a way, you appear to be the same person externally, but internally, you have completely changed. Where you might have lived originally from your lower chakras, meaning your reactive nature, your emotional nature, your beliefs, I'm right and I know everything. You shift from living from that human place to moving into speaking from the truth that you're discovering. So you activate that fifth chakra. You live from your sixth chakra, which means you're seeing the world differently. The Course gives us lessons to teach us how to activate our Christ vision. Your seventh chakra, where you open up to receiving your guidance from the divine. And I'll just point this out here. I do it too. I do it all the time, but I know that that's not accurate. We often point to, oh, I open up my crown chakra so I can hear from God. We do a lot of visualizations. We do a lot of things where we drop a cord, or a beam of light enters me from the outside. None of that is true because there's no outside. There's nothing outside of us. That which is the true essence of who we are is within us. It is the knowingness, the God within. It's that altar that the Course teaches us that is already inside of us. However, it makes more sense when we're describing things that we're receiving from above and we're grounding, anchoring into the world below. All of that is beautiful, but it all comes down to your beliefs. What are you believing? If you're believing that God is outside of you coming to you, that is still not quite it. But it's nicer to have the light of the universe coming through you versus, the God on the cloud that is like Santa Claus watching to see if you're naughty or nice. However, we work through this journey to cultivate a relationship with God is personal and it is perfect. Until you come to the deeper parts of the Course where you're realizing that God is within you. If God is within you, what power is coming down to you? You got to be logical about these things. But when you accept that God is within you, then comes part of the rest of the paradox is that God is within you and you are within God. So then God is all encompassing and you're within it, because we're also told that we are a mind, or we're a thought in the mind of God. So if I'm a thought, I'm inside the mind of God, but yet at the same time, God is within. And you begin to realize that all of it is one. There is no outside, there's no inside, there's only isness that we're getting comfortable with. But however long it takes us to understand all of these things, they all lead us to what this lesson talks about. We have to recognize I am in this world, but I am not of it. This world has all these rules, laws, regulations, political systems, financial systems, medical systems. There are other lessons in the course that teach us and explain to us how we have to be under no laws but God's. But it is crucial that we recognize that until you have loosened every single attachment to anything of this world, you're not going to be totally free. This is why honesty is an important characteristic, because we have to acknowledge where we're still bound to the world, where we haven't loosened ourselves from it. And the last couple of weeks that we looked at this chapter, we went through paragraph number 7, and quickly to remind us, what keeps us bound to the world are our beliefs. So we have to know that all of the work that we're doing is with our thoughts, with our thinking, with what we believe is true or believe is not true. That's where the real courage has to come in, is to be willing to question our thoughts. If you're willing to question our thoughts, you're practicing one of the characteristics, which is open-minded. You're loosening up your rigidity about what is right and what is wrong. So as you become more open-minded, you then begin to expand your awareness of what's possible. But it's all in your mind. It's all a belief. Then it lets us know that in paragraph 3 that the present now remains the only time. So we're learning to, in the now moment, do our healing work. Yes, we may be revisiting our 2-year-old, our 3-year-old, our 10-year-old self, our 15-year-old self, our 20-year-old self, but we're doing it right now. So we're using this time to look at what happened over time and changing our perception about it. That's what the miracle is all about. This book is called A Course in Miracles. A miracle is a shift in perception. This is a course in training our mind to shift our perception. And you take a belief, so and so hurt me, and you begin to look at that. Can they really have hurt me? Then we get honest. Yes, my physical self might have gotten a spanking or might have gotten a tongue lashing, when we were little, or we might have been physically abused. But yourself, your higher or your capital S self, was that ever hurt? No, it wasn't. This is where honesty begins to help us sort out the part of me that has always been wholly, perfect, complete, has never been affected from the experience that my human self has had. To loosen ourselves from all that we thought, the world from all that we thought it was, is to separate the two. That which was never affected, which is your soul, your spirit, whatever you want to call it, from what happened to you, what you experienced. Not that this doesn't matter, but it's not who you are. And that is what is so crucial. This is how you loosen the world, is that what happened to you are experiences that you don't have to claim as part of your true self. They happen to the human self. All of those things that we are loosening ourselves from happen at the third dimensional level. The lying, the cheating, the raping, the stabbing, the murdering, the punishing, the all of the things that we're listening that are happening in the Epstein files, the baby sacrifices, all of those things, they are possible in a third dimension. Your human self has been living in the third dimension. accept that. Yes, this happened. We're not going to deny that it happened, but the Course is very clear that there's one use, one right use of denial, and it is to deny, which is the truth, that it happened to your eternal self. It has no power over your eternal self, which is as God created it. So, what happened to your human self happened, but it doesn't define nor confine your eternal self. So we're cultivating a relationship with the eternal self that we're letting loose. We're loosening it from the confines of the human self. So we're using the present moment to do that sorting out work. And coming off the top of the mountain, coming into the world, is to really test which one is the one that's present. Are you reacting? Then it's your human self. Are you able to be with what's happening and not take it personally? Now your self with a capital S is the one that is leading the way. And you will feel it. You will feel the difference between a part of you that is completely untouched by anything anybody says. It is absolutely, completely free to be itself. You're not monitoring your words. You're saying whatever you want to say. There's a gentleness about it. There's no intention to put anybody down. You're just being who you are, saying whatever it is that you're saying. Because, like Jesus, you're not afraid that somebody is going to not like it or even kill you for it. Because you're in total alignment with the truth of who you are. And when you are operating from that Christ itself, there is no fear about what others may think or say or do, because you're not bound to this dimension. You are otherworldly. You're in the world, but you're not of it. You are of something totally, completely beyond this. Then last week we looked at how in paragraph number 7 it tells us, but healing is the gift of those who are prepared to learn. There is no world and can accept the lesson now. What that is telling us is, once we recognize, okay, well, if I'm not my human, if that's not just who I am, if I'm not what happened to me, and I am operating always in the now, because once we do the work of healing the past, you have no baggage. You don't get pulled into the past. You don't feel that sense of, oh, those were the best days, the good old days. And because you're not operating from the past, which is always trying to prepare the future, trying to make the future, if it was as good as the past, as good as that, or if it was bad, avoid it at all cost, because you're not so busy trying to operate between past and future. In the now moment, you begin to recognize that all of this is made up. Because when you accept that you're a thought in the mind of God, and God is non-physical and so are you, then what the heck is really going on? Then you begin to go into the deeper, the deeper questions. What's really happening here? You discover, who am I? It's an important question. Everybody wants to know, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? So who am I? Well, you're not your physical self. You are this eternal, capital S self, divine and eternal soul. Why are you here? Because you wanted to have an experience of separating yourself, which you cannot do, but it's an experience of it. It's like putting on a costume at Halloween. You're not Darth Vader, but you pretend that you are. Maybe you make the sounds like Darth Vader. But because we have been believing the costume that we put on, that we're separate, it has become, it feels really real. And that's where we get trapped. It feels really real because we are giving it power. But when you begin to understand that there is no world, meaning this is all happening in the mind of God, it is all pure imagination. If you're earlier on the journey, that, oh, yes, I'm so glad that this is not real, this is all imagination. It's exciting. But when you start doing the work and you start really feeling into your pain and your anger and the things that you feel like you've accomplished, and you start feeling a little better about who you are, because you're coming to know your divinity and your holiness. Now all of a sudden you want to get attached to the world. Well, yeah, this is my world. This is what I created, with all of my achievements and whatever. then it becomes almost a little bit more challenging to let it go, which is why in the development of trust, inside of the manual for teachers, we have to go through 6 very distinct periods. A couple of them involved letting go of attachments, one towards the beginning and one towards the end, because until you let go of attachments, you cannot be free to acknowledge that all of this is being made up by your beliefs. All of it is made up by your thoughts. And as you come off the top of the mountain and you begin to operate in this world and you realize everybody is believing the thoughts in their heads. They believe that this is mine. They believe that they hurt me. They believe that I'm better than you. That's why there's so much strife in the world. This is my land. This is my oil. This is my stuff. I'm going to kill you if you try to take it away from me. All of that possessiveness is a trap. It's a trap to keep us in the third dimension. If you want to awaken, you're attempting to move into a higher frequency. And it's a frequency where stuff does not exist. You recognize that you're using your mind to call to you experiences that appear to be solid, but that they are not. So your mind has to be trained in living inside of a simulation it's the best word that I can think of. The freedom of being in a simulation with you as the creator of it is amazing because now there's nothing outside of you that you can ever blame for making you feel in any way, shape, or form because you have accepted you have full responsibility for your creating your reality. But to think that you're in a simulation while your mind is still attached to the stuff of the world, well, then you think, oh, somebody's controlling me, which is part of the insanity of the ego. This is why we have to lose the world from all I thought it was and give ourselves permission to enter into a really vast place. What kind of a world would you create if you are the God of your reality? What kind of a world? We were looking at this in our class last night, the Advanced Course in Miracles class. What do you want as somebody who is no longer trying to get more stuff and more this or more accolades? If you are free, if you have loosened the world from all you thought it gave you, and now you're the creator of your reality, what do you want? I'll tell you what I want. I want playmates that I can enjoy this experience with, that we can co-create things, that we can teach each other new things, that everybody has a skill that we can easily share with one another. Some know how to cook, some know how to fish, some know how to clean, some know how to grow food, some know how to build a financial institution. All of it in service to the greater good. All of it to make life in this world more enjoyable, more fun, more transparent. That's what I want. So as I think about what am I utilizing all of this power for, I spend an incredible amount of time activating my imagination, and because I know I'm the creator of my reality, in the 3D world, things move slowly, and they have to, because when I was 7, 8 years old and I was playing with my Barbies, I couldn't wait for Barbie to marry Ken, and then eventually, as an adult, I married a Ken. Isn't that funny? But if I would have been 8 years old trying to marry Ken, well, that would have been weird, right? If I would have been 8 and had instant manifestation of getting married, maybe if I was Islamic, that might have been okay. But being Catholic, that wasn't part of my reality. So in the 3D world, things appear to take time. As we move to a fifth dimensional consciousness, things are going to move a lot faster. Not that little girls are going to be or little boys are going to be creating marriage right away. You won't even be thinking that. You're going to be thinking about what fun, what play are we going to be having? What things are we doing that are enhancing the experience for all of humanity? Those of us who are coming down from the mountain and are students of something like the Course in Miracles, We need to take on a responsibility, and I don't mean this in a heavy way. I mean it in a fun way, that we are co-creating the world we want to experience. Because there is no world, we are making it up as we go. How fun is that? We're making it up as we go. But don't you want to make up a world, a new world that doesn't have any of the density of the old world? That's what the fifth 5D consciousness is all about. Christ consciousness is about how can we create a world that doesn't have the old. To not have the old, you got to loosen the world from all you thought it was. You got to let it go. You got to stop believing and giving power to external authorities or bad people or bad things. We're recognizing that they happen here while we are coming off the mountain and building a new consciousness, collective consciousness. For that, we have to come together with a way of believing, because it's our beliefs that create our reality. And the Course in Miracles gives us those tools, gives us those beliefs to believe in a way that allows those characteristics of a teacher of God to come forward. So in paragraph number 8, it says, and some will find it in this course and in the exercises that we do today. This is talking about preparing our mind basically to move away from the world that had been created, that we have accepted as our reality according to the ego. Today's idea is true because the world does not exist. Today's idea, I loosen the world from all I thought it was. It's easy to do it because the world does not really exist. Easy only when you've prepared your mind. Very difficult if your mind's not prepared. Sentence number 3. And if it is indeed your own imagining, then you can loose it from all things you ever thought it was by merely changing the thoughts that gave it these appearances. Look at that word, your own imagining. We've got to recognize that our mind was filled with information that created a lot of density, created a lot of responsibility and sadness and trauma. All those thoughts, we need to let them go. We need to purge our mind of all of those ideas about the world, loosen ourselves from that world. Then we accept, as we connect with our higher self and realize that I'm an eternal being that is non-physical, that there is no world. Now we get to create, well, what world do I want? This is what the fifth dimension of consciousness is all about. What do you want? Spend time imagining that world. How would you like that world to be? Then embody that. But we must activate our own imaginings, because then you can loose it. You can loosen the old world from the thoughts that we had given it, and all it requires is a change of thoughts. Our thoughts create our reality. We have spent a lot of time looking at the old that we don't want anymore, but do we spend enough time thinking about what is it that I want as my new reality? Sit with the characteristics of a teacher of God and contemplate a world where people operate in trust, where people operate in honesty, where people operate from joy, from generosity. That is what has to be co-created for our collective experience. And the more that we give our time and just consciousness to that becoming possible, the faster that's going to become our reality. But we have to want it. That is something that we have to activate within us, this desire for that to be our reality. Well, that is the desire of somebody who recognizes that I am the creator of it. And we've got to get into that creator mode. We've got to accept that we are that powerful, but we will create this new world when we loosen the old one, the world of lies and cheating. But we have to acknowledge it, just as when we do our own internal work and we go, okay, this happened. This happened. This is part of what happened. Dad did this, mom did that, grandpa did that. Okay, it is. It's part of the experience. We need to look at the outer world. Right now, there's plenty in the news for any one of us to spend a little time looking at all these things and going, Nope, that's insane. I don't want any more of that. And instead of judging it, forgive yourself for having given it power. Forgive yourself for giving the government so much power, for giving the pharmaceuticals so much power, for giving the education system so much power. You've got to take your power back. Then when you take your power back, as you're no longer blaming or judging or expecting anything out there to save you or make you better, you bring that power back. Then activate your imagination. What would I like the education system to look like? But most of us say, well, I don't want this. I don't want that. No, what do I want? And give that imagination permission to be loosened up and go into overactive mode and imagine that new world that we desire. Sentence number 4 says, the sick are healed as you let go all thoughts of sickness, and the dead arise when you let thoughts of life replace all thoughts you ever held of death. We cannot, I mean, it's impossible to co-create a fifth dimensional consciousness, a world that the Course calls it a happy dream, if you're still believing that death has power over you. Now, in human form, there is birth and there is death. Again, the Course is not saying deny that there's birth and death. I'm not going to deny that I had the absolute honor of witnessing the birth of my granddaughter. I was there. I'm the one who caught her. It happened so fast, there was no time to get to the hospital. I caught my little granddaughter when she came out of her mommy's body. I was the first one to hold her. I'm not going to deny that that happened. But what I do deny is that that is the ultimate reality. What I deny is that that is permanent. What I recognize is that it was a temporary experience. I'm so grateful that I had it, but that is not what I am. I am the non-physical energy, and so is my granddaughter and my daughter that co-created that experience. So we don't dwell in making that experience the powerful thing that I used to think of, the birth of my children. Oh, wow, I gave birth to these children. This is amazing. And then become sad because someday I'm going to die and I'm not going to be here, to see them get older as well. What I do recognize is that I'm the creator of my reality who wanted to have that experience. I enjoy it, but it is done. Now on to the next experience. Now on to the next experience. And living in a place where you live in the moment and you let it go. It's done. It's over with. You don't put it in your pocket. You don't hold those wockets in your pocket. You live it and experience it and move on. From there, what else do I want? Will there be deaths coming? Absolutely. In this experience that I want to be a part of, I want to experience the process of aging and death. How cool is that? That as a non-physical being, I get to have a physical experience. Well, that's because I am operating more and more and more in relationship with my true self, who is not defined nor confined. But I had to train my mind to think with that self, which is what allows for there to be no attachments to these things of the world. And it doesn't mean that I am, like I said, I am not enlightened. I am not enlightened, but I'm a lot lighter than I used to be. And I love that. I love the lightness with which I experience life because I can be there, have it, and when it's done, it is done. Oh my God, I love that feeling. So the sick will be healed when we stop thinking about sickness. In my mind, I focus on well-being, on people being healthy, on people activating the frequency of their higher selves, which is light and joyful and exciting and vibrant, and of course, healthy. That is part of it. But to have a world where we operate as healthy beings, we need to be very aware of the things that we have done as a collective to poison people, to make people eat foods that are unhealthy, to fill the skies with pollutants, the water with pollutants, the ground that we grow our food on with pollutants, the grocery stores with GMO manufactured stuff. You become discerning. And in the world that you are choosing to imagine where those things don't happen, spend some time seeing that as a reality. I mean, when I was a little kid, my imagination always got me in trouble. I was one of those kids that the teacher, yes, would throw the eraser filled with chalk and hit me, on the side, and the cloud of chalk would happen. I'm telling you, anybody born after chalk and blackboards and dry or erasers, you're missing out on something. That was a lot of fun to be noticed because you had a cloud of chalk around you. Oh, there's Lina daydreaming again. Get back in here. Get back into the classroom. And now I'm doing everything I can to activate that imagination again. Paragraph number 9. A lesson earlier repeated once must be stressed again, for it contains the firm foundation for today's idea. And this is a very common thought, common lesson throughout the course. You are as God created you. There is no place where you can suffer and no time that can bring change to your eternal state. How can a world of time and place exist if you remain as God created you? Boy, that is a very advanced question. If our main concerns, if I were to ask you what's the most important thing to you, and you go on to tell me about the bills and the job and getting the house ready because your family's coming for vacation, you're still very much in the world. You're still very much identified as a human being. Nothing wrong with that. But the characteristic of honesty asks us to be honest about where are we on this continuum. And the continuum is from believing that I'm a human to knowing that I am as God created me. Somewhere along the way, like grades in school, you may be learning it. Oh, yes, I am as God created me, but you're getting distracted with the worldly things. We all do that. That's part of the journey. Later on in the journey, you begin to operate more and more from who you are as God created you. And like I said earlier, the way you know is you're no longer living your life according to what others think about you. That is a big, big, big sign. Another one is you don't operate in fear because you have learned to trust that you will have what you need when you need to have it. You literally could walk away from everything and have zero fear. If you're not there, then be honest and say, well, this is where I am. And that honesty is so important because it keeps the spiritualized ego in check. Just because we have spiritual knowledge in our head, or because we have 500 spiritual books in our house, or we have been to 47 retreats and ashrams and maybe done ayahuasca, does not mean at all that you have come down from the mountain and that you're prepared to live an ordinary life, meaning that you recognize who you are as God created you, and there's nothing in this world that you need to achieve or become or get or have to feel safe, to feel happy, to feel taken care of, because all of that comes from your relationship with God. When you trust that you have what you need to have when you need to have it. This is why there's no need to hold on to things and hoard and prepare. Now, I am saying all of that inside of the world that is going through a major shift. I am preparing for that shift. I am accumulating supplies because if things get as wonky as I believe that they are while we're transitioning, then I'm going to have the food and the water that I need, and I'm going to have the financial resources at my disposal. But beyond that, on the other side of that, we're moving to a world where we are really going to be taking care of each other in a beautiful way. That's not part of our consciousness now because we're still believing that I got to do it all man, every man for themselves. That's still the mindset. But as that breaks down, because so many of us are pulling our power from it, we're saying, nope, I don't want any more. I don't want a world of corruption. I don't want a world of lies and deceit and abuse. As we say no to that, and we focus on what is it that we want, that new earth is being created right here. The new systems, the new financial systems, the interim systems with education and medicine and all of those things, they are there. Are you connecting with them? Are you finding them? Are you exploring them and playing with them? and letting your imagination imagine even how much more grander that can be, what a beautiful world that can create. Let me repeat this paragraph. This is so important. A lesson earlier repeated once must now be stressed again, for it contains the firm foundation. You cannot loosen yourself from the world if you don't understand that you are as God created you. This is you of the world. This is you as God created you. From here to here, there is a bridge. You got to cross that bridge. And the way you cross that bridge is you train your mind to look at all of your beliefs about the world and contrast that with the truth of who you are as God created you. The truth of who you are as God created you is very simple. You are eternal. You are non-physical. You are absolutely loving. You love not only you, yourself, you love all that there is. You are completely at peace because there's nothing other than you. You're not at odds with anything. And because you are the creator and you have the abilities that God has as a creator to create, you extend the kingdom by recognizing that aspects of you, aspects of God are expressing themselves uniquely to give you an opportunity to have this journey, this enjoyment. So everybody, everything is an aspect of you. Hard to wrap your head around the idea of separation and individualism and I am, my own self and all of that. But when you begin to feel it, when you begin to feel that oneness, that connection with others, you begin to really loosen your mind from the rigidity of the ego's insanity. From here to here is the journey. This is the work. And if you look at it differently, from here, from the head to the heart, that's the journey. You got to walk down from that mountain. You can go up and get all the spiritual knowledge, but then you got to walk it down. You have to walk the talk. This is where your divine and your human must come together. And that means you have to hold the paradox that you're not a body, but you have a body. How can we use this body with gentleness, with kindness, with compassion to be in service to humanity? You'll be in this world, but you're not of it. You'll seem to be, people will think you've lost your mind. Yes, you have. You let it go. You loosened yourself from your old mind. You empty yourself of those ideas and you operate in a state that you now understand that you are creating something and it feels so real, but you don't lose sight of who you are as God created you. Because in that state of knowing that you're the creator of your reality, you activate your imagination and you realize everything's made up. It is all made up. That's the big joke. What we thought was so real and the boss and the spouse and the government coming after you, all made up. We're all actors in this movie. Let me just read paragraph number 10. What is the lesson for today except another way of saying that to know yourself is the salvation of the world? To know who you are is what saves the world. Because if you know that you are as God created you, if you know you're eternal, who are you holding responsible for anything? Isn't that amazing? We loosen the world from the world having responsibility to make us happy, to make us safe, to make us anything. To free the world from every kind of pain is but to change your mind. Look at that. That's all it is to change your mind about yourself. You stop believing that you're a fragile little person that got hurt and wounded when you were little. And those of you who have studied with me a long time, you know that when we get to these high level conversations where we're talking about the truth of who we are, sometimes it seems like I make light of the childhood, our suffering in childhood, only because I'm talking to you as the creator of your reality, as the actor playing that role. And when you accept that you're the actor playing that role, well, like all good actors, when the movie ends, we go, my gosh, wasn't that a great scene? You did a great job. No, thank you for shooting me the way that you shot me because that was amazing. When your mind is clear that you are the creator of your reality, then we recognize that everything that has happened to us happened for us to have those experiences that provide the contrast that now we get to choose what kind of a world do I want? If we don't wake up, we're just going to keep repeating this. More of the incarnations inside of the same 3D reality where everybody is expecting somebody else to take care of them, where power exists outside of us. If you like that, go for it. Have more of that. Those of us who are done with that and we want something else are willing to take the steps necessary to acknowledge how powerful we are. It's not an easy journey. It's not an easy journey whatsoever because we have to look at all of the suffering that we have experienced and begin to reframe it. We need to change the meaning of it. From it happened to hurt me, it happened to help me realize who I'm not. That's very mature, very advanced work on this journey. But it is the complete acknowledgement that what happened happened as a human, but it is not what has power over me as a spirit, as a soul. That is when everything changes. Now you take responsibility for who you are as God created you. And then what happens, as it says in here, sentence number 2, paragraph 10, to free the world from every kind of pain is but to change your mind about yourself. There is no world apart from your ideas because your ideas leave not their source. And you maintain the world within your mind in thought. When we really get how powerful our thoughts are, God imagined us into existence. Then we, inside of God, imagined ourselves in this terrible space, in this 3D world of limitations. When we begin the process of awakening, it's simply an invitation to say, okay, I was there, but now what do I want? What do I want? Answering that question from your higher self, from the self that knows that you are eternal, that you are creative, that you are loving, that you are peaceful, that you are honest and transparent, will manifest a whole different world. That is the invitation that I'm making to you today. Loosen yourself from your old ideas of what's possible. Enter into the place where you don't know what else is there. And then connect with God. God, like a little kid, I want to activate my imagination so that I can see beyond what I have been conditioned to believe is real. We believe that we have to have roads and cars and jobs and money. What if there's another way? What if there's no square houses and rows of houses and no subdivisions? What if life is, we can do it with tree houses? What if it's beyond tree houses? What if they're floating houses? What if there are no cars? What if there's no pollution? What if there's none of that? For that to become a reality, we have to imagine it into existence. This is why it's so important for us to come off the mountain, to go up and be all spiritual, but stay judgmental at the top of the mountain. Is nice in some ways, but it doesn't co-create the new earth. The new earth, the new world is a world that you must use your imagination and let new ideas pour through you. Let God inspire you with what has never been. And if you can't imagine that, go talk to a 5-year-old. Go spend time with a little one and ask them, what do you imagine? And they don't have to even be that little. Talk to some teenagers today. What would be the most ideal situation for our world for you? Move beyond the confines of what you know into the unknown. And let's allow the spirit of God, of imagination, of infinite possibilities permeate us again. And as we come off the mountain and we humble ourselves enough to realize that we are each expressions of God, helping to usher a whole new world, coming together by loosening the world from what we thought it needed to be into infinite possibilities that we don't even know, but become open to them. My goodness. I, I don't know that there's a better job than to be the bringer of the new that has never been. I don't need to know what it's going to be like, but I know that with love and honesty and joy and trust, it's got to be amazing. It has to be amazing because at that frequency, nobody can hurt anybody. There can be no selfishness, no greed. It's not possible. That's why we have to see the old for the low frequency that it is, those pockets in our pockets that weigh us down, and let our imagination again begin to move into those places where we don't know. We don't know what anything is for, where we operate inside of the characteristic of tolerance because we just don't know what is possible. I'm thrilled about what's possible. I just love it. And I thank you for coming and being a part of this episode. This one's 244. Still blows me away. 244 episodes. That's a lot of times that you guys come and you listen and you allow whatever is going to get transmitted through me to come through. And it's just so much fun because the vibrancy of the frequency is just so beautiful. This I'm high for the rest of the day. Thank you all so much. I love you all. Have fun. Those of you that I know, some of you are going to head to the beach and go play. Have a great time. And the rest of you, yes, have a wonderful time being you. I love you all. Kisses to you, Natalia.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye, Richard and Dondra. Take care, everybody.
Bye, Laina.
Bye, sweetheart.